Okay, so this is problem number 11. It says, according to a survey in a country, 31% of adults do not own a credit card. And suppose a simple random sample of 800 adults is obtained, complete parts A through D. So here is our P, and here is our little n. So first of all, it asks us to describe the sampling distribution. So when they want us to describe the sampling distribution, they're asking us to describe the shape. In other words, is it normal or not normal? Describe the center, which is our mean, and describe our spread, which is our standard deviation. Is it fat and wide, or is it tall and skinny? So first of all, to decide if it's normal or not normal, we know that our N has to be less than 5% of our big N of our population. Since we're talking, so N is our 800, since we're talking about the population of adults in a country, we're going to assume that this country is large. It's not some teeny tiny little country, and that 800 is sufficiently small enough. It's a small enough sample that it's 5% of the population. I wish they'd given us more information, but that's okay. We'll just roll with it. Then the second, so this is a yes, we met that one. And so then the second thing is that n times p times 1 minus p has to be greater than or equal to 10. So in this case, our n is 800 times our p is 0.31 times 1 minus 0.31 has to be greater than or equal to 10. So when I put all of this in my calculator, it comes out to 171.12, which is indeed greater than or equal to 10. So we're good there. So our shape is normal, so anything that's not normal is not an option. And then just checking to make sure the rules are what they should be. That one's good. This one's good. Not this one, because that's less than 10, so that's wrong. So our first answer is B as in boy. Then the second thing they've asked us to do is find the mean of p hat. We know that mean is the same thing as the p of our population, which in this case is 0.31. And then they also ask us to find the standard deviation of p hat, which we know for a sampling distribution is the square root of p times 1 minus p all over n. So in this case, that's 0.31 times 1 minus 0.31 all over 800, which comes out to be this fabulous number. And I went ahead and wrote a heck of a lot of decimal places there, even though they only ask for 3, so 0.016, because we've seen in previous problems, it really sometimes throws off your answers if you don't use a whole bunch of decimal places on that standard deviation. All right, so now we're to part B. What is the probability that in a random sample of 800 adults, so our N is still 800, so we can still use this mean and standard deviation, that more than 35% do not own a credit card. So we're talking about greater than p hat being greater than 0.35. So in our calculator, we're going to do normal CDF 0.35, 1 times 10 to the 99th, because we're going out to infinity. 0.31 we got from our mean up here, and our standard deviation I wrote here. So we put that in our calculator, and this comes out to be approximately 0.0072167. So to 4 decimal places, the probability would be 0.0072. Okay, so and then to interpret that, 100 out of 100, it would be, let's see, to the nearest hundredth place, that would round up to 0.01. So we would expect 1 to result 1 out of 100. All right, then we're ready for part C. What is the probability that same 800, so we don't have to adjust our mean or our standard deviation because our N has not changed, that we have between 30 and 35%. So I've got down here our probability that p hat is between 0.3 and 0.35. So we put that in our calculator. 0.3 is our lower limit, 0.35 is our upper. Our standard our mean is still 0.31, and here's our standard deviation, same numbers that we were using, and this results in 0.722368. So to the nearest, where are we going? To the nearest 4 decimal places, that would be 0.7224. So out of 100, that would be 72. So 72 out of 100, that's pretty large that you would have between 30 and 35% of your proportion, your sample proportion. It's a pretty big percentage. All right, here we go for part D. This is the last part. Would it be unusual for a random sample of 800 adults to result in 240 or fewer? This is the probability that X is less than 240, so that means the probability that P hat is less than 240 out of 800. So that's the probability that P hat is less than 0.3. So we're going to put this in our calculator. Normal CDF. We got less than 0.3, so like think about it on a number line. Here's 0.3 less than that. So we're going negative infinity up to 0.3, so -1 times 10 to the 99th. 0.3. Our mean is still the 0.31, and our standard deviation is still the 0.016356. So we put that in our calculator, and that comes out to be 0.270414. So to the nearest 4 decimal places, 0.2704. But we have to choose our situation. So is it unusual? We know our rule of thumb is that if it is less than 5%, it is unusual. So this is what, roughly 27%, which is greater than 5%. So it would be not unusual. So this one is not unusual. This one is unusual. Is unusual and not unusual. So it's either A or D. Just reading here. Okay, so it appears the only real difference between these two is one is greater and one is less than. Since 27% is greater than 5%. Oops. And I do believe, yeah, they want that as a decimal. Oops, 4 decimal places. So 0.2704, which is greater than 5%. So our answer is A on that one.